This is part 2 of how to find a spouse and maintain a happy marriage. Okay, because I think we talked a lot about the attitude that you must have if you're married and a positive way to stay happily married. But now we're going to talk about acquiring a high-valued spouse. How do you go about doing that? That's what we're going to talk about today. How high a value a spouse do you actually want? And that high value can be defined in many ways. Could be in looks, could be in education, could be in finance, could be in demeanor, how they act around other folks. Could be a whole myriad of things, depending on what your definition of high value is. Maybe all of the above, okay? And so what I want to suggest then, when you picture in your mind a high value spouse to find, make yourself into that which you would like to find in a spouse, okay? So I found, especially coming up, like having my epiphany at age 28 in the church, and going to church, starting to go to church, I would see that as a single man, every time I'd walk in the door, all these women would be looking around, is that the husband that God sent for me? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? But the reality is they're just sitting there and waiting. They believe, many people believe, males and females alike believe that their husband or their wife, potential husband or wife, will be a gift from God, okay? Now gift, focus on that word gift. Now on Christmas time, your birthday, or wherever, when you're getting gifts, presents under the tree or whatever, how are those gifts wrapped? How do they look? Are you usually given a gift, in a brown paper bag with grease stains on it? Would you appreciate that? Do you think that's what you deserve? No, of course not. You want a gift that's wrapped up real nice, with a fine bow on top. And probably when you wrap gifts for other people, you take the same care in preparing that gift, the wrapping for that gift, to make sure that when they see the gift, they appreciate it. Not just what's inside, but what's on the outside too. Because the reality is, when it comes to us as human beings, what we reflect on the outside is pretty much an image of what we are on the inside, okay? Some people are sad and they reflect that sadness. Some people are happy, they reflect that happiness. Some people are mad and some people are just apathetic. But if you're looking to share your life with somebody, you'd want positive attributes, positive traits. And so that's what you need to work on. So I would look at it this way. If I'm waiting for that particular mate to arrive who's going to be a gift for me, and I'm going to be a gift for that person, I'm going to be preparing this gift the best that I can. I'm going to be eating healthy. I'm going to be exercising. I'm going to be studying, maybe getting a higher education. I'm going to be doing all the things that I believe a high-value mate for me, I would want them to be. I'll be that as well. So I would look at it like you don't have much time. Because an individual is going to present themselves before you, but chances are they're not going to be any more high value than you are, okay? And the problem with that is their value systems might be different, so what they consider high value might be different than yours. So the expectations that you have of high value versus how you carry yourself, you say, well, I'll be able to settle for that. Well, maybe that's not what they see as high value, and there'll be something that you're not willing to settle for. But because you haven't prepared yourself, you're not really in a position to make a choice, okay? So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of unhappiness out there. Why? Because a lot of people feel like they're settling for someone less than what they deserve. Well, use yourself, measure yourself by that same metric, okay? So again, it's like a race to me. It's like, believe it, that person is, somebody is going to appear in your life, somebody that's worthy of you, somebody that's worthy of that level that you've raised yourself to be. So then this, to me, is like a foot race. You're racing to get to a particular place of I don't want to say perfection, but way better than you are before that man or before that woman arrives. And it's almost, I don't know how to say, like a Zen thing, but it's almost like you're racing to get to a race, preparing yourself, making yourself perfection in areas of looks, in areas of health, in areas of finance, in areas of education. And as you're running to that finish line, where your spouse is, they're morphing based on how the creativity that you are imposing upon yourself. They're getting better and better and better. So by the time you get to that finish line, you have raised yourself up to a particular level, and that individual that you meet there will be at that particular level. You're going to draw what you are, okay? Now, I know I said in the last programs, opposites attract, and that is true as far as personality and character and likes and dislike wise. But as far as being a high value individual, the similar folks attract. You're attracted. People are attracted to someone that they see as bettering themselves, as looking good and preparing themselves and bettering themselves in life. That's attractive to folks. That's high value. That's what you're going to draw, and that's what they're going to draw. Now, as we close here, I'm going to give this one little hint, okay? This is like icing on the cake. It may not seem like it. But you need, we all need, whoever's watching this with this desire to find a mate, you need to raise your expectation. You need to challenge yourself to be better. And maybe lower a little bit of your expectations for the person that you're expecting, because chances are you're not going to reach the highest pinnacle of your value. And so rather than in your mind have determined this is what you're expecting, lower that a little bit. But make your expectations of yourself high, because chances are you're not going to reach the highest level. And so when you get to that finish line, you're going to be on that same level as that individual that you're expecting in your lives. And then go back to part one and see how you're supposed to respond in a marriage to make sure that that mate that you found, that spouse that you found, will be a long-lasting and happy marriage. How's that? Well, anyway, I want to thank you once again for joining me for another perspective.